Jonathan Harker started his journal, writing all about his amazing trip. He went from Munich, through Vienna and Budapest, all the way to Klausenburg. He noticed how everything changed, like a whole new world, and he'd already learned so much about Transylvania. He even wrote down a special food for Mina and mentioned Count Dracula's town, Bistritz, even though they weren't there yet. Jonathan finally arrived at the Golden Krone Hotel in Bistritz, and they were totally expecting him. Then he got this amazing letter from Count Dracula himself, telling him exactly where to go next, to the Borgo Pass. Can you believe it? The letter even promised a carriage would be waiting there, setting the stage for him to meet the Count. So Jonathan, right? He just asked about Count Dracula and his castle, and guess what? Everyone at the hotel got super quiet and scared, like they saw a ghost. And then this old lady, the landlady, she started yelling about St. George's Eve, saying that's when all the bad things come out. She begged him not to go, and even gave him a shiny crucifix to keep him safe. It was really spooky, but Jonathan, he was still going to go. Can you believe it? Wow! When I got on the coach, everyone was making these funny signs and looking at me with such pity. They told me it was to keep away the evil eye or even vampires. The mountains were so beautiful but wild and rugged, and our driver was going super duper fast, like he was trying to outrun something. And guess what? I found words for Satan, witches, and werewolves in my book. It feels like all those spooky stories are coming true. Oh man, as the coach went into the Borgo Pass at twilight, everyone got super agitated, telling the driver to speed up. They even gave Jonathan these special gifts and made signs against evil like they were really scared. Then, the coach driver said no carriage was waiting, but suddenly, this mysterious carriage just appeared. And the driver, he was a tall man with bright red eyes and sharp teeth. He just took Jonathan and all his luggage away, and I bet it was Count Dracula. So Jonathan kept going with the super mysterious driver, who even gave him a warm cloak and a rug. But then Jonathan noticed they were just going around and around, and when it got super late, first dogs, then scary wolves started howling, making the horses freak out. Then, whoa, blue flames kept popping up, and the driver got out to do a super strange ritual with stones. And the weirdest part? Jonathan saw that the driver didn't even block the flames, like he wasn't really there. But then, oh wow, it got really scary. A whole ring of silent, menacing wolves just appeared surrounding our carriage under the spooky moonlight. Jonathan was frozen stiff with fear, but the driver, Count Dracula himself, just gave this huge, powerful command, and poof, the wolves scattered. Then, after one last, super eerie climb up the road, we finally arrived at this enormous, ruined castle with dark windows and broken, pointy parts, all silhouetted against the moonlit sky. It was incredible. And then, Jonathan Harker. He finally got to this huge, super spooky castle. It was all dark and gloomy. And the driver, oh my gosh, he was so strong. He just dropped Jonathan off and zoomed away. Jonathan was all alone in this ancient, dark place. And he started to get really, really scared, wondering if this whole adventure was a good idea. Everything was just so weird. He wasn't even sure what was real anymore. Oh my gosh, after waiting forever, the huge castle door finally creaked open, and there he was, Count Dracula. He was so tall and old, all in black like a shadow. He welcomed Jonathan in with this fancy wave, and his handshake was so cold, like ice. And then, guess what? Dracula insisted on carrying all of Jonathan's bags up this twisty staircase, and he was super strong. And then Count Dracula, he led Jonathan through this huge castle, all the way to a super bright dining room where supper was waiting. Jonathan gave him the secret letter from Mr. Hawkins, and Dracula read it, all serious. Jonathan got to eat this amazing roast chicken and fancy wine, but Dracula just watched him, asking tons of questions about his trip, saying he already ate. Wow! Jonathan looked really close at Count Dracula, and wow, he had this pointy nose, super sharp white teeth, and his hands were all hairy and rough with pointy nails, like claws. When Dracula's hands touched him, Jonathan felt all yucky inside, like he was gonna be sick. Then, just as the sun was coming up, they heard wolves howling, and Dracula, he just smiled and called them the children of the night before sending Jonathan off to bed. Can you believe it? Jonathan woke up super late on May 7th, and oh man, breakfast was all cold, and there was a note from Count Dracula saying he was gone, just like that. But then he looked around the castle, and it was so weird. No mirrors anywhere, and not a single servant, even though it was super rich and fancy. He went exploring and found this amazing library full of English books. But then he found so many locked doors, and it made him feel all squishy inside, like he was totally trapped. Wow, so Count Dracula came into the library, and he was so happy Jonathan found all the books. He told Jonathan he wants to learn English perfectly so he can live in London, just like a regular person. Can you believe it? Then they started talking all about this super cool house, Carfax, that Jonathan got for him, and the Count wanted to know every single little thing about it. Wow, he told Mr. Harker all about old houses and being a noble from Transylvania and how much he loves being all alone in the shade. It was kind of funny because he was smiling the whole time. Then poof! He zipped away for a second to get some papers, but came right back to take Mr. Harker to another supper. And guess what? He didn't eat again, but he sat there and talked while Mr. Harker ate his dinner. Wow, Jonathan and Count Dracula talked for hours after supper, and Dracula asked so many questions about everything. Then Jonathan started to feel this super cold chill, like when the sun's about to come up. And you know how they say that's when things change, or even when bad things happen. And then, bam! A rooster crowed, but it was like super loud and spooky. Dracula just poof! Excused himself and left really fast, pretending he was worried about Jonathan staying up late. Okay, so Jonathan was shaving, right? And Count Dracula just walks in. But guess what? Jonathan looks in the mirror and nothing! No Dracula! Then Jonathan accidentally cuts himself and Dracula's eyes go all blazing and he jumps for Jonathan's throat. But Jonathan had these cool crucifix beads and Dracula just shrank back. And then, smash! Dracula broke the mirror and said blood was super dangerous there. Isn't that wild? So after breakfast all by myself, I got to explore the whole castle. And wow, I found this amazing window with the most incredible view, but it looked down, down, down onto this super scary giant cliff. But then, oh no! Every single door I tried to open to go outside was locked and bolted tight. And that's when I realized this amazing castle, it was actually a prison, and I was stuck inside.